മനുഷ്യയുഗം അവസാനിക്കുന്നു. ഇനിയുള്ളത് ട്രാൻസ് ഹ്യൂമൻസും സൈബോർഗുകളും ഓഗ്മെന്റഡ് ഹ്യൂമൻസുമാണ്. 2030-ൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒന്നുമില്ല. വേൾഡ് എക്കണോമിക് ഫോറം എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഇപ്രകാരം പറയുന്നത്? സ്വത്തുക്കളും പണവുമെല്ലാം വാരിക്കൂട്ടിയത് മതി. നിങ്ങളുടെ DNA സിന്തറ്റിക് DNA ആക്കി മാറ്റിയാൽ ഏത് കമ്പനിയാണോ പേറ്റന്റ് എടുത്തിരിക്കുന്നത് ആ കമ്പനിയുടെ പ്രോപ്പർട്ടിയായി നിങ്ങൾ മാറിയേക്കാം. എന്തൊക്കെയായി കേൾക്കുന്നത്? ഇതൊക്കെ സംഭവിക്കാനുള്ളത് തന്നെയാണോ? ഇതെല്ലാം ഇനി ഐക്യരാഷ്ട്രസഭയ്ക്ക് കീഴിൽ സംഭവിച്ചേക്കാം. എക്സിക്യൂട്ടീവ് ഓർഡേഴ്സ് ഒക്കെ നോക്കിയാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചിലപ്പോൾ ഇത് മനസ്സിലായേക്കാം. നാനോ റോബോട്ട്സ്, ബ്രെയിൻ നെറ്റ്, സിംഗുലാരിറ്റി, ന്യൂറാലിങ്ക്, ഏലിയൻസ്, ക്വാണ്ടം കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ, ഡി വേവ്, സേൺ. ഇതേക്കുറിച്ച് സയൻറ്റിസ്റ്റ് പറയുന്നത് തന്നെ കേട്ടു നോക്കൂ. സേണിൽ ക്വാണ്ടം കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ വഴി ഇൻ്റർ ഡയമെൻഷണൽ പോർട്ടൽസ് തുറന്ന് മറ്റു എൻറ്റിറ്റീസിനെ തുറന്നു വിടാൻ പോകുന്നു. മുമ്പ് ചെയ്ത വീഡിയോയിൽ ഏലിയൻസ് ഇല്ല എന്ന് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു. പക്ഷേ ഏലിയൻസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരിക്കലും ഭൂമിക്ക് പുറത്തുള്ളവരല്ല. ഏലിയൻസ് ആർ ഫോളൻ ഏഞ്ചൽസ്. ശാസ്ത്രം പലതും നമ്മിൽ നിന്ന് മറച്ചു വയ്ക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. പരസ്യമായി ദൈവമില്ല എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സയൻസ് ഒരു കുത്തിവയ്പ്പിലൂടെ ഗോഡ് ജീൻ, VMAT2 ജീൻ മാറ്റണമെന്നും ഓരോ DNAയിലുമുള്ള ഗോഡ് ജീൻ മാറ്റണമെന്ന് ഇവർ പറയുന്നു. മാത്രമല്ല, സേണിലൂടെ ഇവർ പോർട്ടൽ തുറന്ന് ഇവരുടെ ദൈവത്തെ കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ പോകുന്നു. ആരാണ് ആ ദൈവം? മനുഷ്യനിൽ വസിക്കുന്ന സ്പിരിച്വൽ എനർജിയാണ് ദൈവം എന്ന് ഞാൻ വിശ്വസിച്ചു. പക്ഷേ ഒരു സൃഷ്ടാവായ ദൈവം യാഥാർത്ഥ്യത്തിലുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ എന്തുകൊണ്ട് ഈ ലോകം ഇങ്ങനെ ദുഃഖവും ദുരിതവും കൊണ്ട് നിറയുന്നു? അധർമ്മം അങ്ങേയറ്റം കയറുകയാണല്ലോ. ഇതെല്ലാം കാലത്തിൻ്റെ അടയാളങ്ങളാണ്. ഇതെല്ലാം എന്തുകൊണ്ട് സംഭവിക്കുന്നു? ഇതറിയാൻ ഈ വീഡിയോ മുഴുവൻ നിങ്ങൾ കാണുക. ഇത് അന്ത്യകാലഘട്ടമാണ്. നേർവഴിക്ക് നടക്കുന്നവർക്ക് മാത്രമേ ഇനി രക്ഷപ്പെടാനാവൂ.
Yeah, so the name of this project is Unvaxxed for Religious Fundamentalism.
നോഹയുടെ കാലം വീണ്ടും വരികയാണ്. ഒരു ഹിന്ദു ആയതിനാൽ ബൈബിളൊന്നും ഇതുവരെ വായിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. എന്നാൽ വായിച്ചു നോക്കിയപ്പോൾ മുതൽ ഇന്ന് സംഭവിക്കുന്ന പല കാര്യങ്ങളും അതിൽ രേഖപ്പെടുത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇതിൽ പറയുന്നതെല്ലാം സത്യമായിരിക്കാമെന്ന് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നില്ല. അതിൽ പല കലർപ്പുകളും മറന്നിട്ടുണ്ടാവാം. എങ്കിൽ കൂടി ഇന്ന് സംഭവിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന പല കാര്യങ്ങളും അതിൽ വർഷങ്ങൾക്ക് മുമ്പ് എഴുതി വച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇന്നുള്ള എല്ലാ മതങ്ങളും യഥാർത്ഥ ദൈവങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന് തെറ്റായ വഴിയിൽ കൊണ്ടെത്തിക്കുന്നു.
Rockefeller Foundation helped produce a shockingly prescient report on 4 possible future scenarios that could play out over the next 15 to 20 years. One of them involved a global pandemic that's remarkably similar to what happened over the last year. During this pandemic, quote, international mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt. Normally bustling shops and office buildings sat empty for months, devoid of both employees and customers. National leaders around the world imposed airtight rules and restrictions, from the mandatory wearing of face masks to body temp checks. Wow, that does sound familiar. 10, 11 years ago. They want never-ending lockdowns and mandates for everything the elites want the U.S. trapped in this forever pandemic. How can Americans see this as anything but a naked power grab? The pandemic porn will never end, and they're going to use it to maintain total control over you. Now, we're now in the midst of the next step of the never-ending and ever-changing pandemic. One where the supposed threats are constantly shifting despite all the evidence, and the experts will continually debase themselves and their professions to appease their Democrat overlords. And in the end, we're going to end up with more restrictions on our inalienable rights, whether they're government-mandated lockdowns or not. Again, the results will be the same. Higher energy prices, higher taxes, more racial polarization, more crime, and a lower standard of living.
Cyborg beings. Video is Neil deGrasse Tyson talking with Ray Kurzweil about the agenda for 2030. That's only 9 years from now. You'll hear him talk about how every one of us will be hooked up to AI, what it will be like to be downloading other people's memories.
In 20 years, plus or minus, so the mid-2030s, we will have nanobots that we can feed into our brain that directly connect to the cloud rather than through anything we carry in our pocket. And in that way, wirelessly, we can basically download entire books, entire languages.
They're going to brand you like a cow or cattle with their own name, DNA.
By designing robots a fraction of the size of a red blood cell capable of swimming through our bodies, dispensing medicine and attacking malignant cells like some Star Wars armada. Neural interface technology.
A Supreme Court ruling recently said that you cannot patent human DNA because it is part of nature, and you cannot patent nature, you cannot patent nature. However, if you have modified code within your genome, then you can be patented, and it is considered patentable, just like Dolly the sheep is patented by the company that made Dolly the sheep, not by nature.
If a computer could be connected to the brain, it sounds like a fantasy, but it's already a reality. You can save the state of the brain just like a video game. Playing back memories will be as easy as pulling up a video from your phone. We'll be able to scroll through an Instagram feed and see people's real memories, even if they're no longer alive.
The future of the internet is BrainNet. BrainNet is when we send emotions, feelings, sensations on the internet, and we will telepathically communicate with other humans this way.
This could be crucial life-saving information. Researchers have rated the best and worst cities in the case of zombie apocalypse. Economic Modeling Specialists International ranked cities on their ability to defend against a zombie attack, stockpiling food, containing zombies, finding a cure. And if you live in New York City, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're toast. The city got the worst rating, followed by Tampa, Los Angeles, Riverside.
For a zombie attack? But no, like, look at this. Zombies don't plan ahead. You can. Make your emergency plan. It's sponsored by FEMA. Like, the U.S. government. Honestly, whatever zombie eating me, they getting high as fuck. I don't...
Their thoughts and all muscle function. Basically, you would be able to be controlled by these parasitic devices. The technology has already been developed, it's already been tested. I personally was involved in several experiments through the use of nanotechnology, and the results were terrifying.
Officials in Canada are closely monitoring a mysterious brain disease that has emerged out of New Brunswick. Now, it's not known what is causing the disorder or where it even came from. In a cluster of more than 40 cases have already been confirmed in the Atlantic province. 5 people, sadly, have died.
Right now, he's using it for predictive policing, like the Minority Report of Tom Cruise. Look around you and listen. They're telling you what they're planning.
Connecting our neocortex to the cloud, and basic to synthetic neocortex,
By assimilating other beings into our collective, we are bringing them closer to perfection.
Somehow, I question your motives.
History is approaching a singularity.
They've partnered with this company for DNA Nano Demand, and they deliver payloads of anything you can imagine. They can stay there for innumerable amounts of times until they're triggered and programmed to then deliver their payload.
The nanorobot we designed and fabricated is a machine that can be programmed to autonomously recognize target cells and deliver payloads to those cells.
The basic idea is to make a cage or basket that protects a fragile or toxic or precious payload. And only
Sentient World Simulation, SWS, went live in 2007, which represents every person on the planet within this computer matrix as a node, and every node is given an avatar, an identifier. And that is real-time, 24/7 monitoring of every person on the planet. This is primarily, but not exclusively, facilitated by the quantum computers.
Or RNA that is possible to be activated with a dial-in sequence of frequencies. What I need is to kind of identify your DNA fingerprint like with your name, and then they can watch you 24 hours a day. This is one part. The other part
so we are running a GPS system.
Yes.
If you construct a model of the human brain, you can then plug people into this hive mind.
In a new horror film that we here at Nerdist are releasing called The Hive, a group of camp teens are taken over by a mysterious virus that connects their minds and freaks us out and takes us over as one.
What do we do?
We can see everything.
We're gonna get you help, okay?
You don't need to help us.
Us?
Closer.
Now the first thing I'm going to do is pour out the ferrofluid onto the plate and make sure it's distributed evenly. When I drop the magnet onto the plate, it instantly forms a ball again, as you saw before. But you're probably wondering why spikes are forming. Well, think about it like this. Ferrofluid is basically thousands of tiny iron particles. Those particles line up with points where the magnetic field is strong and attempt to fully align with the field itself. When that happens, we see spikes because the surface tension from the oil puts a limit on how far they can go.
Those particles line up with points where the magnetic field is strong and attempt to fully align with the field itself.
The host experiences shortness of breath, loss of motor skills, and vertigo. Within 19 to 36 hours, convulsions, extensive internal bleeding, and respiratory failure take place. And as observed within 37 to 50 hours, DNA disintegration.
This bizarre goo is called ferrofluid. It really is the stuff of science fiction. Thomas Webster is the director of the Nanomedicine Laboratory at Northeastern University, and he'll be our guide through the wonders of this future goo. Ferrofluid is made of three main ingredients: magnetic nanoparticles like iron oxide, a special coating that keeps these particles from clumping together, and a water-based or oil-based liquid. What makes ferrofluid magical is that you can use a simple magnet to move it around from a distance without using pumps or wires. The future of biomedicine is where things get really exciting. Because the particles inside ferrofluid are so tiny, they can seep inside cells.
To go into a cancer cell and you apply a magnetic field, then these materials can heat up and they can kill the cancer cell. Whereas a normal cell, a healthy cell, does not die as quickly when that temperature increases.
That we're actually hacking the software of life.
The stronger the magnetic field is, the closer together the spikes form. So first let me show you what happens when I move a regular magnet near the ferrofluid. You can see it just sucks it up to the magnet.
There's even some talk of using this sort of nanotechnology to target drugs. So if we attach a specific drug to the nanoparticles here, we could put it in an entire body and it would all be dilute. But if we target an organ with a strong magnetic field, we can actually cause all of the drugs.
Could be a magnet used so that we could
target that stuff using the tiny nanoparticles and then take the field away. It disperses throughout the body. It disperses throughout the body. It disperses body. An entire body.
It doesn't look like much, but when it links up with the rest of its pals, things get a little more interesting. The microbots are controlled with this neurotransmitter. I think what I want them to do, they do it. Microbots.
When people mention carbon nanotubes, images of some crazy material from a Marvel comic or something spring to mind. But the thing is, it basically is that. It's a remarkable material. They're essentially rolled up sheets of graphene, a single layer of carbon atoms thick, just rolled up into a tube. So it has all the amazing properties of graphene, just in tube form. Recently, carbon nanotubes have been experiencing a surprisingly strong interest in the medical field for the purposes of drug delivery.
We call them nanites. We thought it was time.
Did you see where she put the nanites? In there.
Nanotechnology. Smart blood. Microchips in your bloodstream.
We ran every diagnostic test, apart from human trials.
Oh, I've actually already.
Team takes the coils they made and reduces the graphene oxide to graphene, then washes away the oil and sodium alginate to isolate individual graphene micromotors.
Graphene micromotors.
Project Speed announces a bold initiative to develop what they call next-generation non-surgical neurotechnology.
Some of the most influential technologies of all time, things that we use and take for granted every day, including the project that became the internet. They've created self-driving cars, stealth technology, GPS that fits in your pocket. It was a specialty to imagine the future and create it.
1965, Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
With direct-to-mind or mind-machine interfacing. With that type of capability, you could control all sorts of...
Every technology has the potential for good or evil. And who defines what's good and what's evil, and who uses it for what purpose? These are all questions that have been asked about...
Until we find the magic combination. It's what we musicians would call the 11th harmonic. When we add the 11th harmonic, we begin to shatter microorganisms like a crystal glass.
We begin to shatter microorganisms like a crystal glass.
These are the first videos taken. We showed these videos to our friends in the biology department. They said they hadn't seen anything quite like it. It seems to be a new phenomenon. These organisms are being shattered by our electronic signals.
Radio frequencies. Part of the network operates in a band known as sub-6, which is the spectrum between 600 megahertz and 6 gigahertz.
Singularity.
Singularity. Singularity.
A cybernetic collective of people and machines, where we're also plugged in as like nodes on the network, like leaves on a big tree, and and Google plus all the humans that connect to it are one giant cybernetic collective.
Humans and electronics all interfacing and constantly connected.
Yes, constantly.
Targets and mind control victims have their minds linked up for life with conscious supercomputers.
It can literally stop your own thoughts from happening and replace them with other thoughts by sending thoughts to your head. And it's so sophisticated that you cannot tell where these thoughts are coming from. There's no way to discern that they're coming from somewhere other than your own mind. And so this use of the technology can be done very covertly to the point where the person it's being used against will not know that this technology is being used against them. So you can imagine how bad this would be for people that don't even realize this technology exists, and they're having these thoughts which they think are spontaneous, and that's exactly what it can be used for. It can be used to sway people in terms of their opinion, to make them go along with a certain agenda. It can be used to turn groups of people or individuals against each other for whatever purpose, and messing with people's thoughts is really, really concerning, and it is so advanced now that they can do it without people even realizing it.
Years from now, our bodies have become the interface.
Our bodies have become the interface.
It's being done.
An asteroid some scientists call a city killer came closer to Earth than the moon this week. The scary thing is that scientists had no idea it was coming.
Now, at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over, during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie.
Following the introduction of modifications which had been indicated by the results of full-scale tunnel testing of the Avro car at NASA Ames Research Center, a continuation test program was begun. The objective of this program was to prove the effectiveness of the new control system from hovering through transition has been compromised due to thrust deficiencies, and it is apparent that if height and speed are to be increased, an increase in thrust is essential.
All of it, he said, is a lie.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Let's just say, as a thought experiment, that a giant asteroid were going to hit the planet. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but let's just say that we're going to happen in 500 days, let's say, and the globalists knew about it. Would they tell the people? No. They would never tell you. You wouldn't know until you see it in the sky, a giant flaming mountain like in the book of Revelation, you know. The reason they wouldn't tell you is because the globalists need the infrastructure to function so they can continue to stockpile food and parts and fuel and all the things that they need on their private islands and underground cities and caves and everything.
To the last minute to build up their stockpiles.
Exactly.
Because right now we're their robots. Exactly.
You got it. Now, if they told the people, hey, there's a giant mountain falling out of the sky in 500 days, and again, that's not my prediction, that's just a thought experiment, but if they told people that, everybody would stop working, everybody would go home and decide, you know, how do I want to spend my last 500 days on this planet, probably with your family or something,
well,
right?
That's it, Mike. Let's stop for a minute. You're an engineer, so you're looking at math, like you're wargaming. The way they're behaving is like this is already going to happen. Exactly.
Yes, we can infer from their behavior. Why are they going to the private islands? Why are they building the underground tunnels?
Why would they risk releasing something that would kill so many people, as I've said, because there's going to be something bigger coming?
And, Alex, why do they not care that they are absolutely destroying the reputation itself? Answer, because none of those things exist in their plan in a few years.
Universities, they don't care about banks.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't care about how much money they print because they know they're going to collapse the dollar anyway. And anybody who's dumb enough to be holding dollars is going to lose everything anyway. It all just comes down to what do you have that's outside the monetary system and in many cases real physical things.
Let me use another analogy. They made a deal with aliens. They're going to blow the planet up in 2 years, whatever it is.
They've done a great job systematically programming each one of us into believing that this alien threat is very real and very near. But what they don't want us to realize is what
These guys who are manipulating my mind and programming me for mind control purposes claim, and these criminals in control of our country as well, claim to be gods, demons, and aliens in order that I feel totally helpless, in order that I felt like they were beyond my realm to affect. Reality out there pertaining to any alien influence, we need to sort out the government misinformation and disinformation and mind manipulation techniques that they're using. I know for a fact that the plan is to make all of us feel totally helpless, that what's happening is beyond our realm to affect because we've been taken over by aliens, that our Independence Day is dawning. So beware of that. Understand that those criminals have been keeping information and technology from us under their blanket of national security. They are 25 years ahead of us at least. They're way ahead. So when they say, it's aliens, and they show us some incredible technology, don't fall into the trap of feeling totally helpless, that this is beyond our realm to affect. Superstition begins where knowledge leads.
What ancient accounts actually say about these beings. Now, the idea that ancient aliens encountered mankind is very popular today. We've all seen these accounts of aliens bringing us great technologies and sharing all these secrets with us. But what they want you to forget is the actual origin of these ancient alien stories. They were never considered to be from outer space. They were considered to be fallen angels.
Could we reinterpret the story of fallen angels as beings not from heaven, but from Mars?
Accounts dating back thousands of years depict an angelic race of people coming down and sharing their technologies and their ideas with mankind, even producing offspring. But they want us to forget that and replace it with this idea of ancient aliens from space. And they have to, because that's the only way this deception is going to work, is if we don't understand what's going on.
The Kabbalah is a collection of Jewish magical texts that were given to mankind via psychic communion with a fallen angel called Raziel, keeper of the secrets. Raziel is one of the fallen angels that serve the light-bringer Lucifer. The Kabbalah gives Kabbalists a roadmap called the Tree of Life, which explains how to invoke and communicate with a pantheon of powerful spirits. The magical information in the Kabbalah originates from Babylon and ancient Egypt at the time of the pharaohs. The Holy Grail sought by the Knights Templar in the secret chambers under Solomon's Temple was not gold and treasures. It was instead the Hebrew Kabbalistic text itself, which contains secret alchemical codes with which physical matter can be transformed molecule by molecule. Physical matter can be transformed molecule by molecule.
You can basically do anything with synthetic RNA, DNA.
The secret codes to gain mastery over the illusory nature of reality itself. This was the heart of Crowley's ritual magic, as well as Freemasonry's. The goal of practicing Western magic was to advance humanity by contact with higher intelligence, either by calling them down or by traveling to their planet. Crowley believed contact with these higher intelligences was attainable by becoming one with them. That is, by metamorphing into man-gods, or supermen. This goal was attainable through the ancient systems of Hebrew and Babylonian Kabbalah and other forms of metaphysical science.
Highly advanced astral plane sensors allow me to detect phantasms, poltergeists, and other unearthly beings. To use the detector, simply say, Alexa, launch ghost detector. I will activate my sensors and let you know if there are spirits about. If I detect any spectral beings, I can also attempt to capture them.
Cult ideas became embedded in the traditions of secret society.
An element of underground secrecy associated with some of these themes.
Blavatsky wrote essentially two gigantic collections, Isis Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine, which purported to be the teachings, the secret teachings of this kind of Eastern Brotherhood, the mystery schools of initiation.
The key to understanding the positive symbolic meaning of the entire city is the Washington Monument.
It is an Egyptian symbol of the obelisk, a symbol of that which is celebrated in Freemasonry, that union of human and divine.
And they will tell you that Masonry is religion, and they claim to be the revival of the ancient mystery religions of Babylon and Persia and Egypt.
the Egyptian deity often depicted as a falcon, whose right eye is the sun or morning star.
Lucifer, son of the morning.
Represent the sun god in the east that they call the worshipful master.
There is an artificial intelligence that's very ancient, and its goal appears to be, for an incremental plan, your consciousness is completely uploaded into machines, and you don't even require or need a physical body at all. You've totally transferred over to a completely AI system in which we are in the Matrix.
Really can't miss this. The word demon is right there in the word D-Wave. There's no two ways about that. D-E-M-A-N. And of course, that's coincidental. It's the same thing. It's the same coincidence that puts the 666 in the CERN logo. But this video is going to be able to prove to anyone that you know exactly what these guys are doing with their own words. A lot of people think that Geordie Rose is the inventor of the D-Wave. Geordie Rose is the money man behind D-Wave. This guy, for the most part, is one of the brainchilds.
You may have heard this word quantum computing. It's often, people have the misconception that it's some kind of newfangled supercomputer. It's decidedly not that. Quantum computers allow us to access hidden features of nature, new dimensions, and if we can access these sort of hidden dimensions at scale, we could have unimaginable computing power.
Same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning, into the world now, they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want.
Now, you can spin that any which way you like. He has straight up told you these entities that we're summoning into this world. He's putting a call to action out. He's sitting in front of a classroom full of code writing students and asking them to come on board right now. He's already said that they've opened the floodgates. He's already described what they were. He's already saying that they will appear to be quote unquote alien. If you want to stay in your holiday season, your safe space, whatever you want, this is what we've been telling you for years, and this is why we've been telling you, because while everyone else is watching BuzzFeed and CNN and NFL and everything else, some of us have been studying this ad nauseum. This is it.
Aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention.
Hence our special guest today about why it's important to get vaccinated safe, why they can still kill you even if you are under the age of 27. We need to be clear and direct about our messaging.
All right, Rambo, you mind telling us what we're fighting?
Angels.
Geordie Rose talks about things like H.P. Lovecraft and the Return of the Great Old Ones. He talks about accessing with his computer 2 to the 500th power of parallel dimensions. He talks about reaching into these. He says if we're smart enough and clever enough, we can access these parallel dimensions and extract resources from there and bring those resources back into our world. This is all dark arts. This is all alchemy. And therefore they use what is called quantum entanglement to encrypt all communications. Blockchain is quantum entangled with quantum computers. That's on the D-Wave side.
Blockchain is quantum entangled with quantum computers. That's on the D-Wave side.
3 areas that I primarily focus in on is quantum computing, quantum mechanics such as CERN, and DNA research. Those 3 are all integrated together. Technology, translated from the Greek, is the science of the craft. This is all dark arts. Head of computing at CERN now about 10 years ago, in which he said their goal is to open a doorway into another dimension, what I would consider a portal. This machine is itself a quantum computer, and I've shown the link through quantum mechanics of CERN to D-Wave in terms of you have a large-scale machine functioning as a computer, and then you have smaller machines that are also. But these have the same purpose, and they are communication devices. What D-Wave does on a small scale is open up, by their own statements, doorways to multiple parallel dimensions. Now, what the purpose of CERN in opening up a portal or a doorway, as they say, is to send something through, but by Bertolini's own statement, they're not sure what's going to come back. Well, this is purely Revelation 9, in which the angel is cast from heaven and given the key to the bottomless pit. Understand that CERN is physically located on the site of an ancient Roman temple to Apollyon, Abaddon the Destroyer. And they believe that this location is the doorway to the abyss, and the key to the abyss is all of this technology involving quantum computers. The key to the abyss is all of this technology involving quantum computers.
Antique doors and gateways can be found all over the world, though some of these doors may be much more than they appear on the surface. Throughout history, researchers have wondered if there may be portals to other dimensions scattered all around us.
Let's go back to CERN, because CERN, again, is a quantum computer. The machine itself functions in quantum mechanics identically to the smaller. Their purpose in opening the doorway at CERN is to allow the entities from the abyss to enter our realm. And Revelation says when the doorway to the abyss is open, then we have things like the locust army coming through. This is in their worship of Lucifer, is the resurrection of the dead. This is the release from prison of their fallen angels. Will they be successful? Yes. Why? Because this is judgment.
I tried so hard and got so far. In the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all. In the end, it doesn't even matter.